Good morning, everyone. Director of Strategy and Programs at Future World Alliance. We are a global nonprofit focused on empowering educators and learners to use AI and creativity to build a better. Today's session is part of our AI Launchpad for Educators series, where teachers explore how AI can make learning more engaging and meaningful. We are thrilled to partner with Adobe Education for this special season session. AI meets creativity, empowering students' voice with Adobe Express. Leading us today is Shel McConville, Global Education Community Program Manager at Adobe, and educator at heart who now helps teachers worldwide bring creativity and storytelling to life using Adobe Express and Firefly. Thank you all for joining, and with that, I'll hand it over to Shel.
Thank
Shel,
you so much.
thank you.
Thank you for having us. We are so excited to be a part of this amazing initiative. As she said, hi, everyone. My name is Shel McConville. I'm, again, from Adobe's education team. I'm a former teacher. Shout out to all the fellow educators out there. Extra shout outs to my kindergarten and fourth grade comrades. Today, we're going to be diving into one of my favorite topics, which is how to teach students how to think like designers when they're using generative AI. So as educators, we've all seen what happens when you pass students a super powerful new tool. They experiment, they get creative, and sometimes they get completely lost in the chaos of all of it, which is where we come in. We help them go from random clicking and making, various iterations of 6, 7 to more intentional creation. Generative AI isn't like some cool magic, but it's more like a whole new language. The AI models aren't going to understand what you want unless you describe it super clearly. And that's actually a really beautiful teaching moment for all of you, because writing a good AI prompt actually taps into the same skills that you're already teaching every day. Descriptive writing, vocabulary, clarity, intention, visual literacy, all the good stuff you can actually use when you're doing these tools that are really engaging for students. And even better, there are so many different ways to embed it within your curriculum, which actually my colleague Wesi will be sharing about next week on Sunday. So whether your students they're designing a character, illustrating a science concept, creating a historical artifact for social studies, a well-written prompt can turn their ideas into super powerful visual storytelling. So with all of that, today we're going to be breaking that process down into 4 practical parts. 1, understanding the anatomy of a prompt. 2, exploring style prompts so they can refine their artistic direction and the vibes that they want to go with. 3, unlocking style and composition references in Adobe Express. And finally, best practices and classroom ideas to make this super, super approachable for both you and your students. We'll do some live examples and look at ways that you can scaffold this process so every student, no matter their experience level, can succeed and have fun with generative AI. If you have a preferred AI tool, that's awesome. I'll be using Adobe Express for Education today, which is free for all K-12 educators and their students. And I'll be sharing resources on how to get that if you don't have it yet. So let's jump in. We're going to be using a few different resources during this live stream. And the first one you can find at, it will be adobe.ly/genai resource, which I have on the screen. So super handy for you. This is definitely one to bookmark if you're interested in generative AI. It has a lot of different tips and tools that you can use as you're starting to design things for your classroom. So first thing we're going to talk about, as promised, is going to be the anatomy of a prompt or a prompt structure. So when you and your students are using any kind of text-to-image feature in a tool like Adobe Express or Adobe Firefly or whatever AI tool you prefer to use, the structure of your prompt matters. Think of it like you're building a sentence. If you only give a noun, the AI is going to fill in the rest for you. And it might not match what you or your students have in mind. So a really simple structure to help guide you is what I call SBS, or subject background style. Doesn't matter what order you put it in, but these 3 pieces form the foundation of an effective prompt. So this is for your future reference, but I'm actually going to stop sharing this screen and switch to a different one real fast so we can actually create some things together right now. So I'm going to stop sharing that one. This is going to test our our sharing skills today. Let's see if we can do this. Padma, will you let me know when this one's good to go?
Yes.
Yay, we did it. Okay. So friends, this is Adobe Express. There are so many different things that you can do within this amazing tool. Everything from, we have guided activities that will walk you and your students through an entire project step by step with both the video and written directions. You can make posters, videos. There are a million different templates. You can create a student gallery where you can brainstorm ideas or share projects. If you're interested in learning more about this, please do connect with me outside of this particular live stream because I'd love to chat more about your needs for your classroom. But today we are just going to start with generating an image. So this little entry card right here, we're just going to click into that and we can start to type in anything we want. So this is one great place to start. So let's say I'm just going to create a subject. So let's start super simple. Again, the subject is telling the AI what the image is going to be about. So using descriptive language here is the key. Adjectives will make the difference between something generic and something brilliant that matches exactly your needs. So I'm going to start super simple so we can just see the difference between how much description we put in. So I'll just say a volcano and I'm going to hit generate. And now instead of being on that home page, it has moved me into a workspace here. So this is, we call this our canvas. And this, you can tell the AI is thinking, and it's going to give me 4 outputs. Hey, these are pretty cool. These are pretty sweet volcanoes. I like them, but maybe they're not exactly what I had in mind. They're not bad, but I think we can do better. So I actually, instead of having to start from scratch, I can just go back up here to my prompt and add some more. So maybe I'm going to go in and say a massive volcano erupting with glowing lava and dark ash clouds at night. I have no idea how this is going to turn out, so we'll see. We're creating in real time. That's always the fun thing. One thing that's really great about Adobe's generative AI is that it is all commercially safe. So we're not stealing any art from anyone. And oh my gosh, these are way more interesting to look at, I think, personally. If you disagree, feel free to drop that in the comments. But there's a lot more drama to these images, I think. So I'm just going to stick with this one, and I can drag the edges of my bounding box to make it fit. I could also go in here and resize my entire canvas if I want to. But I'm pretty happy with this. I think this is great. So for today, I'm just going to hit add page, same size, and we're going to make something new. So I am going to start a new thing. So we already talked about the subject. That was pretty great. We got more descriptive with our subject and made a better image. Now we are going to get a little bit deeper and we're going to start thinking about the background. So I'm going to head to media. I don't only have to go back to the home page to create something with AI. I can go media, generate image, and choose my size. I'm just going to do square because that's what we're working with in here today. I'm going to drag it so it's going to be nice and big for us to see. Maybe I'll zoom in here a little. Okay, and again, I can just go in here and type in whatever I want. So I'm going to say a koala eating eucalyptus. Keep me honest if I'm spelling things wrong. Leaves on a plain white background. Pro tip for you, if you tell it to give you a plain white background, it makes it really easy for removing the background later if you are using a project where you don't want it to have a background. Or if it's going to be a dark background, say you want a black background or whatever color, and it makes it just kind of cleaner when you're pasting it into something new. Okay, this is a really cute, simple koala. On the realistic art side, I do like it. I could also come up here and switch my content if I wanted it to be a photorealistic image of koala. But this version it's isolating my image because of the type of background that I told it to do, right? So again, yes, now we've got this really cute photorealistic koala, and I could come in here and let's say we do have a background color. I'll just add one real fast, but I can't see it because we made a white background. But this makes it super easy because I can just go to this remove background tool, which is this gal with super groovy glasses, and magically, it has taken off that background and we've got this super cute, adorable koala. I'm going to hit these 3 dots and click duplicate. And I'm going to come in here and edit this prompt a little bit. So we talked about a very simple background, but now I'd like to change that a little bit. I'm going to bring my background back by just hitting that remove background button again, and then go into generate image so that now you can see it's brought my prompt right back. Again, I'll just walk you through that. I clicked on my koala, went to this generate image button, and it's back so I can edit it once again. So I'm going to change this a little bit. A koala eating eucalyptus leaves. I'm going to change my background so we can get a little bit more descriptive. Maybe I don't want to remove the background and that's not my plan. So I'm going to say in a rainforest with sunlight filtering through tall trees. Hit generate. Again, I did keep that photo content, so it's going to be more on the realistic side. We'll get into style prompts in just a few moments, which will show you some other artistic styles that you can do. So this is a much more engaging photo if I wanted to really be talking about maybe the koala's habitat or what it needs to survive or adaptations that koalas have. This would fit in with that type of curricular connection. Whereas this might be really cute for like the front of, maybe you want a koala on a poster. Maybe you want to put your koala on, on the first page of a slide deck or something. It's, a much simpler version versus a photorealistic picture. And again, everything that's created in Adobe Express and Adobe Firefly, if you're using the Adobe Firefly tools, which are embedded in Express, our models are trained exclusively on Adobe stock content, which means that it is not stealing anything from artists. Everyone has been compensated, or it's open source material that we can use, and everything is commercially safe. So students don't have to worry about plagiarism or copyright with their images, which is really nice to not have to even think twice about that. It takes a lot of stress off of you as an educator. So this one it isolates our subject. This one adds, and it creates a little bit more atmosphere. Okay, so that was our subject and our background. Now, let's get a little bit more specific here with our koala. We're going to play a little bit more. Again, I'm just going to hit those 3 dots and click duplicate. Okay, let's say I don't want it to be photorealistic. I'm going to go here and I'm going to go to auto. We'll see what happens. We're going to play it by ear a little bit. So the third thing, we did subject, we did background, and then the last one is style. So this is going to control the artistic voice of your image. It's the real vibe of what you're going to put out. So you could say in a digital watercolor style, in the style of a 1980s comic book, as a clay sculpture on a pastel background. The possibilities are really endless, and we're going to get to play with that in a little bit. If you don't add style, you're just going to get a mix of interpretations or a very simple graphic, which can be nice for brainstorming, but when students need cohesion across maybe a presentation or a web page, or they need something more precise, naming a style is going to help them to reach it better and more quickly, so they're spending less time just generating a million random images, which I'm sure none of our students would ever do. So I have a great resource for this that we'll be going through shortly. So again, subject, background, style. It's simple, but it's going to make your results so much better, and it's something that students can take with them and apply to any AI tool they might be using. So for example, I'll just do one here real quick. I'm going to say 3D render cartoon. This one always turns out so cute, and kids get really excited because it ends up looking like a lot of their favorite shows that they like to watch. You might recognize some styles from maybe some cartoon brands that you enjoy with your own family. So we've got this really cute little koala. He's so cute. He's ready to have a great day. So if you want to go with a little bit more cutesy vibe, you could do this. And again, we're going to go and play with those style prompts now. So I'm actually going to go back. I'm going to stop sharing this one and go back to our other page that we were on. So again, this is adobe.ly/G Gen AI hyphen capital R resource, because I had to put so many capitals in it and make it complicated, I know. So that was our tip number 1, which was prompt structure, prompt anatomy, subject, background, style. So pop quiz at the end, if I ask you, what is our prompt anatomy for super easy prompts? Subject, background, style. Telling you the answer in advance. Tip number 2, we're going to talk about using style prompts. So for this one, once students understand prompt anatomy, they can start to play with style, which is really where their personalities can enter the picture. So you'll see that we have some sample prompts here, and you can also see how style words change the results dramatically. So for this, I kept my base prompt the same, which was joyful purple-haired girl at a coffee shop. But I changed my style in the beginning. Now, it does not matter if you put your style type in the beginning of your prompt or at the end of your prompt. It will not change your output one way or the other, but I often like to put it at the front just so that I can keep track of where I've got it, or keep it consistent at least throughout your generation, so it's easy for you and your students to find it. So for example, I did 16-bit retro video game style, which got us this really cute vibe. Again, we did that 3D, this is cartoon doll style, chibi anime, flat art cartoon, isometric, which is fun because it kind of like pulls you out of the picture a little bit. And then this is another version, except I kept that prompt consistent so we could see all the different versions of it. So we've got otter playing in a river surrounded by tall pine trees in the summertime. We've got that subject, background, and now we've added style at the beginning, which is we did voxel style, which kind of gives you like almost a Lego-y kind of vibe. Low poly, which is fun. It gets all these like cool polygons to help you build your picture. Pencil and watercolor style. I see a lot of students who think this is really amazing. Vintage newspaper. If you've got students who are creating vintage newspapers based on a historical concept, that's a really great prompt to use for that. Or hyper realistic photo style. If they're wanting a very specific type of image that maybe they can't find in Adobe Stock or whatever tool you're using, they can create their own and make it look like it's photorealistic, which is really cool. So if you scroll down just a little bit more here, we have a remixable template with tons of different styles that we can play with. So this is the direct link. It's also, again, it's just linked right here in this original resource. I'm going to click on it. And
Shel,
then
can you share those links in the chat, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Let me drop those in our chat or in our LinkedIn chat.
Yeah, I think it should work both ways.
Okay. Let's see. I can do this. I can type fast.
I'll share the links.
Okay. I think we are good. Thank you for calling that one out. And then I'm going to stop sharing this screen and switch over again because I have so many fun things to play with. Okay. So this is that second resource, which has a ton of different styles that we can play with. This is if your students have never had the opportunity to play with generative AI or practice with prompting, this is a really great, you can kind of think of it like a worksheet for them to just jump in and get to experiment. So I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to hit remix here. And when I hit remix, Adobe Express has tons of remixable templates, but this is just allowing me to create a brand new copy of this in my own account. So if you hit remix, it will make a brand new copy of it in your own account. Same with if you share that link with your students, they'll have their own copy to play with. And it will not alter the original, which is great. So within these, there's a bunch of different pages, which you'll see down here. And they all have kind of different vibes to them. So this first one was more of a fine art and historic. I'm going to click out of that so you can see. So I kept, again, that prompt the same on each page. So we have a child with curly hair and glasses. You'll see it's generated kind of an interesting array of different types of students. I really love this minimalism style. That's really fun. Also, the Byzantine mosaic style is like very cool. So these are, different, more fine art styles that students can experiment with. These are really cool because not all students are going to have the opportunity or the access to create their own versions of these, right? I know I was a very artsy student in school, but I didn't get to go and make a lot of like super detailed mosaics in school, or get to spend a ton of time learning how to use pointillism. This is a great way for them to explore those ideas, even if maybe they don't have all the resources or the time to be able to create them by hand. Or they can be a really fun way to get them excited about creating them by hand as well. So there's lots of different reasons and ways to use them. And to get to play with these, you could come in, just click on the picture, head to generate image, and then maybe you want to change this. Maybe I want to say an adorable orange kitten playing with a yarn ball in a living room. So that's generating. It's thinking it's going to take away my child with curly hair and glasses and make some kind of adorable orange kitten in a cubism style. And you'll notice, your results are going to vary a little bit. This is not the most cubism style I've ever seen. Sometimes it does a better job than others. You can also come in here and go to movements and explore some of these as well. So maybe if I hit cubism there too, it's going to get a double dose. We'll see what we get. Could be interesting, could be not. We will find out together. We're on this AI adventure as a team. Yeah, this got a little bit closer. So we've got this, I'll zoom in so you guys can see a little bit more, a little closer to that cubism art style. So these are super easy ways for students to just get to experiment and play. But you can see how the style words are going to change the results dramatically. So again, this one's kind of our fine art or historic art styles. This one's fun because it's kind of crafty. Students usually have a lot of fun playing with this one. So again, I did a different prompt, but it still kept it consistent across the page. So we've got black cat with flowers. We have embroidery, flat felted crafts, layered paper, candle wax carving, which is unique, knitted yarn crafts, mosaic again, messy finger painting. That one's always really fun. Cross stitching, that's been like a real hot thing, especially with our middle school students. They think that's like very cool. My 13-year-old is like all about the idea of cross stitching without wanting to sit still long enough to actually make it. So she's made a lot of AI cross stitching things. The next one is more of our modern digital styles, which is fun. So I went with something that kind of paired well with that, which was a spaceship in a star-filled galaxy. And you can see, our prompts here really change depending on what you give it. I love this low poly pastel 3D. I think that's really fun and cool. Also the retro 90s, like shout out to my fellow 90s kids. That one looks really cool. And they all give a very different vibe. If you were trying to create a project, if you put this in something, it's going to give a very different message than if you were to put like one of these, right? The more sci-fi versus like, a cutesy rocket ship. It's going to be a very different message that's being given out, which can complement student storytelling. As we continue there, we have some whimsical and playful stories. So gummy candy, children's book illustration, which we know can actually come in various shapes and sizes and styles. Glow in the dark, sticker style. That's always really fun, having students design their own stickers. They get really into that. Creating things that are Play-Doh or clay. Kawaii is always a big hit. Plush toys, balloon animal sculpture. These kind of turn out a little unhinged sometimes, so fair warning. They're really hilarious, and your students will definitely have some good giggles when they're creating things with balloon animals or just balloon-shaped items. Nature and science. These ones are fun to play with. So we've got, you can make things that are in geodes, that have galaxies that are underwater and bioluminescent, a heat map. lots of really interesting things that you could play with. We've got some photography styles. So these are ones that you could play with. The double exposure is pretty cool. It's a little tricky to navigate and figure out how you want it to be structured. The more detail, like I just gave it a face, so that's why it's just like some random guy. But I could give it a lot more detail and describe the person that I want it to have, which will get a more refined result for me. Pop culture, students always get excited about this one too. Comic book with halftone dots if they want to be like their own comic book superhero. 90s cartoon, anime, realistic fantasy. This one's always a big hit. Photorealistic, RPG sprite style. Maybe they want to look like they're stepping out of a storyboard. They want to be in an old-timey video game. Maybe they want to be like an action figure. That's pretty cool. We've got different cartoon styles here that you can play with. Again, I just kept it all the same. But you can see just changing the type of the style type is going to dramatically alter your results here. And finally, we've got some more realistic portraits of our little soccer kiddo. So this is a great resource to play with, especially, again, if you or your students have never had the opportunity to just kind of mess around with generative AI. It's very fun. So I would my advice for you would be to encourage experimentation, encourage play. It's a really great first step into practicing with AI prompting. You give students 10, 15 minutes to explore this resource before you actually want them to use generative AI in a project. They get that chance to play first, they're going to be able to harness all of that learning for good later. So that makes it a lot simpler for them and gives them a place to start instead of being like, teacher, what do I put in here? I don't know. You can just tell them, take a look at your prompt inspo. What do you think, what style do you want to go for? What's your vibe? What do you want to try? And oftentimes I find students will find like 1 or 2 or 3 styles that really just like they connect with for some reason. Like I often go to that 3D render cartoon. I really like that. It makes me feel happy when I create things that look like that. I also personally really like that voxel style we talked about earlier. So there's a few things that we just connect with more and we'll often use them. And then it kind of just becomes a thing that like they feel like they have ownership over that prompting style, which is empowers them to use it more. So back on our original resource, Pum, I'm so sorry. I have to keep switching all of my screen share pages. You're a good sport to go along with me. We're back on that original resource again. That one's in the chat, but it's just that adobe.ly/GenAI resource. We are going to look at tip number 3, which is using composition and style references. Now, this is something you can find in both Adobe Express and if you have access to Adobe Firefly, which is Adobe's more robust tool, that's usually more used for professional artists and creators. But if you happen to have it, it's a very powerful program with new things being rolled out all the time. And then bits and pieces of it make their way into Express for your students to be able to have access to. So composition and style references are really, really powerful. So when you are doing these, they can make your classroom creations look even more cohesive. So when you upload a style reference, you're giving the AI like an anchor. So it's going to keep all of your generated images within one visual theme, same palette, texture, tone, all of that, which is great for projects like storybook illustrations. If you want them to look, like they all are coming from the same artist is creating the same thing. Slide decks, presentations where you want all the images to go together, classroom galleries or group projects where you want consistent aesthetics. I know I was like definitely one of those teachers who I kind of wanted like something to look nice on my classroom wall. So if you want them to all be the same theme, but then they can put their own twist on it, that's a fun way to do it. Like I know my 13-year-old would love it if all of her images in a project could be cutesy. No guarantees the AI is going to know what cutesy means, but I bet she could probably find a more descriptive way to enter that as a prompt. So on here, we're going to talk about both style and composition reference. So this one is style reference. In this example, I uploaded this picture as a style reference, and then I was able to use that to create all of these images just based on that original thing. So, happy dog made out of plants. I didn't have to get super, super descriptive because I already had this. And you can see if I were creating a project and I wanted all of these images to look like they go together, it makes it really easy because all I have to do is upload this first image and everything else is going to match after that. The other piece is a composition reference. So this is going to use the shape and lines from an image to help you build your new one using generative AI. So my daughter drew this very cool minifigure, which I thought was amazing. But then she told me she wanted to mess around with it and see what we could do with it. So we uploaded it into Adobe Express as a composition reference. And then we just referred to it as a minifigure. Another thing to just know about Adobe's Firefly AI, generative AI, is that it does not understand brands. So if I were to say Lego, which is obviously what this is inspired by, it does not know what that means. So do not, just know that it would be, that would not work. Or if a student goes in and they're like, make Taylor Swift playing guitar at my house, it's not going to know who Taylor Swift is or what that means. Famous historical figures, it can usually figure out, like if you ask for Abraham Lincoln or George Washington. But I usually tell students the best practice is just get really descriptive. If you want Abraham Lincoln, don't tell it Abraham Lincoln. Tell it, man in the 1800s with tall top hat and beard, and brown beard and brown eyes, and he's very tall and very thin. Get really descriptive with what you're trying to say, and you're going to get closer to what you're wanting. But again, with this composition reference, we just uploaded this, and then all we had to do was discuss what we wanted. So this is actually how we got the one that we used for the style reference up here. We uploaded this as a composition reference, and then we just asked it to cover it with shrubbery and wildflowers, and this is what we got. My daughter was totally floored to see that her artwork could create all of these different things. The red gelatin really cracked us up because who doesn't want a gelatinous minifigure, right? So we're going to go play with this right now, actually. So I'm going to actually head back into Adobe Express. Again, I'm going to share my screen. Jumping right back into actually our first project we were at with all of our cute little koalas. I'm just going to duplicate so I have the same page, but I'm not going to keep this koala. I'm going to just head to generate image, and I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to actually go a little bit backwards. I know I just showed you style first and then composition, but we're actually going to do it the other way. So I'm going to hit composition, and I have this very cool eyeball that my daughter drew. Now, you don't have to have a very beautiful artwork. You could actually just draw a stick figure, and that would work the same. This just happened to be what I had saved on my computer today, so I got that one ready for us. And we're going to try this in a couple of ways. So I have that as my composition reference. I'm going to name what it is. I'm going to say it's an eyeball. But I'm going to say eyeball made out of, let's say, no, I'm going to say a plush eyeball with plush fuzzy eyeball with purple sequins. Why not? I have never tried this prompt, so we will see if this is, as the youth would say, cursed or cool. We will find out again together. AI is an adventure, and the cool thing is, if we don't like what it turns out like, we just go back up to the top. That is terrifying, but also so cool. We are working with an eyeball, so I should have expected it would be a little bit scary. But plush fuzzy eyeball with purple sequins, it kind of hit that. Like, this turned out way cooler than I was expecting.
It does. It actually took the prompt pretty well.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. That's very cool. Okay, I'm going to duplicate, and I'm going to go back in here, and we're going to try it a little bit different. So I'm going to delete that prompt, but I'm going to keep my composition reference this time. And this time I'm going to upload a style. So I just had this picture that I pulled out of Adobe Express that just has some hedges. We're going to go for that same style that we had on the other page, where it had like the Lego figure and the dog and all of that were hedges. But this time I'm going to say a eyeball made out of shrubbery and flowers. This time it's not only pulling from my words, which it would do a decent job of, but it's also going to pull from that style reference. So it's taking the composition of my daughter's drawing, the style reference that I uploaded, plus my prompt, and it's going to mash them all together. And now we've got this really cool, interesting piece of artwork that we've created, which all started with this pencil drawing of an eyeball. Pretty cool to see the things that students can create when they do these. And they could get even more specific. You know, we didn't really give it a style. So maybe I want it to, again, I'm going to go to my favorite, 3D render cartoon, because this gave us a very beautiful and realistic version, which I really love this. This next version might be even stranger or better, who knows? But again, this is why we give students and yourselves time to play. My friend Ann Cosma, if any of you are familiar with her, this turned out very cool too. She always says, push all the buttons and play to learn. And I think that is the best thing that you can say or think about when you're talking about using generative AI. And the advice I often give to all the grownups out there who are creating with AI or creating at all is you're not going to break it. We all get so scared that we're going to break things, and we don't want to mess up or make a mistake. But you're not going to learn and you're not going to grow if you don't try. We're always the first ones to tell our students to not be afraid of failure, but we're often so afraid of it ourselves. So this is my push to all of you to please just be brave and try and make terrible, cursed things and make cool and beautiful and inspiring things. And all of it is okay. We're in this really interesting place in the world right now where we're just like creating, and there is limitless opportunity to create and dream and ideate and change it over the course of time. So if you walk away with anything today, just make stuff and don't be scared to make stuff. So that composition reference with the eyeball here, it was all about the layout and the form. So the AI, when it was only using that, when it was creating our eyeball here, it was looking at the image that I uploaded specifically. You'll notice even where the eyebrow is in the picture, that's where it's given it here. So it's not just like, oh yeah, take a picture of an eyeball. Everything is laid out similarly. Where she has shading under the eye, that's where this is kind of starting to not be as in the forefront of the image. So it's looking at all of the shape, which is really amazing for student creativity. They can sketch an idea on paper, take a picture of it, upload it in here, and then generative AI is going to use those lines as the framework for the art that it generates. So imagine an art project or a STEM project where students design maybe fictional animals. This is the elementary teacher part of me coming out, but they're designing fictional animals with adaptations for different habitats. And then they do a quick sketch. And even the kids who are like, I'm horrible at art, I hate drawing, and they're usually the first ones to, rip up their papers and throw them across the room. They can upload them here and they'll watch Firefly bring them to life while keeping their original composition still intact. Here at Adobe, we call it non-destructive editing. So it's not going to do anything to your original creation. It's just going to give you more versions to play with. So if this is something that you're interested in, amazing. You have Adobe Express for free. I'm happy always to chat more with folks who want to get that for their school districts. Always available to chat about that. Another plug I wanted to share is actually in 2 days on the 11th, there is a brand new Adobe tool coming out. It's called Project Aqua, which is available in the App Store for pre-download right now. It is completely free. It is only on iPad for now, but it is really amazing, especially for our younger learners. So if you're, an elementary teacher, or if you're a teacher of any age, but you happen to have young children in your life, it's really cool. Again, it's free. Highly recommend giving it a download if you do have an iPad. So again, that's called Project Aqua. Very cool. Okay, so we're going to move on to part 4 here, which again, I'm going to do our favorite thing, which is stop screen sharing and then screen share again. I'm going to jump back to our original page. And I'm scrolling down to tip 4, which is our best practices for students. So like I was giving a short lecture about earlier, the best way to teach prompting is through scaffolding and iteration. Students are going to learn by doing and by failing. Same as you, same as every human that has ever existed. We learn and we make things better by trying it and messing it up 100 times before we finally figure it out. So, if I want you to take a look at this. So we started with a dark and stormy night. Did this create a dark and stormy night? It sure did. It is very dark. It is very stormy, but maybe that's not exactly telling the story that I want it to tell at the end of this. And as you go through this, you'll see I started adding more. And this was an iterative process as we started creating. I actually built this with she's now 13. She was 11 when we created this. She actually was doing a haunted house project for her class in 5th grade. And she wanted to create an image to go with this whole writing project that she was doing and submitting to her teacher. So we started again with a dark and stormy night. And I was like, is that showing anything about your haunted house? She's like, no. So she goes back in. She added a dark and stormy night with a house. And I was like, cool. Is that as haunted as you want? She's like, no, it's definitely not creepy enough. So then we moved on. A dark and stormy night with an old Victorian house, flickering candles in the window and a path leading to the front door. And she was pretty stoked about this output. But she also was kind of like, it looks too much like it's from a horror movie, and it's not just like a haunted house that happens to be there. She also, because again, she is my artist. She is the one who created the eyeball and the minifigure drawing. She didn't like the artistic style that it had. You'll notice, based on our subject background style framework that we talked about in the beginning of this session, this has a really great subject and a background, but it does not have a style listed in there at all. It does for the house, which is great, but it does not have an artistic style. And for some students, that's fine. They don't really care what that looks like, but my daughter was definitely a student who cared. So she started playing around with what kind of style she wanted. So her next version was messy smeared charcoal sketch. She does love charcoal. However, she does a lot of art in her bedroom. And we learned very quickly that charcoal does not mix well with carpet floors. So she did messy smeared charcoal sketch style, and then she kept the rest of it the same. She was much happier with this, but she wanted it to have a little bit more moodiness to it. So then on her final iteration, she added dark mood. And for some reason, that is really what hit it for her. She also loved that it just kind of added in the moon. She hadn't even thought about adding a moon, but again, AI sometimes just likes to fill in things where you don't put anything. And she was super excited about that. She was like, this is super spooky. It totally matched her story that she had written. But this was a full iterative process. Every single time that she went in here, she was adding more. Each version that your students create is going to help them think more critically about word choice and about detail. And you can even make it like a writing exercise. You can ask them which adjectives change the tone of your output. Why do you think that did that? This is also a really fun thing that they could do with a partner. So first partner creates, your basic prompts, and then they pass it to their partner, or they could share it as collaborators within Adobe Express. You can have 2 students within one project. That's another option. But if they just go back and forth and they keep adding more and more and more and see what they can get to, it can be a really fun project to do with somebody else. It can also be, if you're doing that like intro 15, 20 minutes to let students just kind of play, that's another fun way to do it if you want them to be working with a partner and doing some more cooperative work together. That can be really powerful. Another best practice for you guys, you can make prompting way less intimidating by using frames. So putting in the parentheses actually does not change the final output. I get asked that a lot. Do parentheses and colons and periods and all of that, do they change the prompt? Are they important? They're not. In full transparency, they're not. At least not when it comes to creating things in Adobe Express and Adobe Firefly. But they can be really powerful if you want to create these If you want a starter prompt to give to your students, if you have that, then they know, oh, if it's in parentheses, that's something that I should replace. So that's one of the things that you can do to help them start to learn. This is, a form of scaffolding and makes them much less scary to start messing around with. It just helps students visualize where they can plug in their ideas. And then another thing, oopsies, that went really fast. So again, are other parentheses necessary? No, they're not. Can students see what my prompt was? The answer is yes. So when it's just like when we opened this one with all of the different prompt styles, when I went in there and I went to edit one of the pictures that was already there, the prompt was there waiting for me. So if you have a remixable template and you share that with your students, they can click right into the image that's already there and they can see what the prompt was that you used, which can give them something to start with, which is really cool. So for example, if I had this and my students clicked on that, then they would see my full prompt here and they could go and edit it from there. Super powerful. It's a nice classroom trick and it makes things very, very easy for you. And then there are some really amazing ways that you can use generative AI within your classroom. And I just have a few ideas. There are so many more that you can do within your class, especially, depending on what you teach, what you do, where you want them to be. And there are so many activities that already exist within Adobe Express. And I'm just going to show those to you real fast. So one more time, we're going to swap over to my other screen. Because if I don't say that I'm sharing screen, did it even happen? Okay, so I'm back in here. I want to get back to the home page. I always tell students, just click the rainbow A. It will always take you home. So I'm back to the Adobe Express homepage. I am in a teacher account right now. Student accounts look very similar, but you have a few more powerful tools at your disposal, which is cool. I'm going to go here to activities. And this is where you can actually find all kinds of amazing activities that fit your specific needs. So you can filter by subjects, by your grade level. There are different ones that align with specific standards you can look into. So maybe if I click into here, it's actually going to straight up tell me what standards this particular lesson is going to hit, which is really cool. And we're always adding more, which is amazing. There are a ton of different templates that you can start with. You can assign them to your students super easily. You can click here. If I clicked into this one, I could literally just hit assign and assign this template to my class. I could also come in and make changes. Maybe I don't want them to make a poem. Maybe I want them to make a visual story. And look, that's done now. So I'm just going to create a link and assign that to my class, which is super easy to do in just a couple of steps. Continuing to scroll down here. Actually, this is the easier way. So if you come here to on the left, there is a light bulb icon. This is our Learn tab. We're adding lots of new things all the time, but this is where you can learn more about Adobe Express and how you can use it. So we've got ways that you can get badges to get level up and become more proficient with using Adobe Express in the classroom. It talks about our guided activities, which I'm going to show you in just a moment. If you're interested in learning about design, video, photography, generative AI specifically. And then here's our guided activities, which are really amazing. These are super cool. This is our one that we're featuring this particular month. It's our Plush Pal. This is an AI-focused one. These are super cool because they actually have a whole video that walks students through the process step by step. And it also has it in written directions depending on how you like to learn. I am a reader, not a listener. That's not my learning preference. So this will actually walk them through how to do this entire thing. You don't have to do it. It's already there for you, which is super handy. And you can assign this directly to your class super easily. So we've got a ton of these guided activities. We add more every month. There's always something new. We have 12 days of creativity. This was last year's 12 days of creativity. We actually are going to be launching this year's 12 days of creativity on the week of Thanksgiving. So you'll see that pop in here with 12 brand new guided activities that are super fun for seasonality. And there'll be some challenges and opportunities to win prizes for your class, which is really cool. And then one of my absolute favorite things is our educator collections, which people who are part of our Adobe educator community have actually created these different template collections for you to use for free. So depending on what you teach, you'll see that there are all kinds of different folks who have made these incredible templates that you can start to use. So if you're a library media specialist, our friend Karina made these amazing different templates that are specific for school librarians and media specialists. It also has all of her information if you have questions. These are all, we call them our ACE innovators. So they are folks who work they're educators who work very, very closely with our team. They go out and they train people, and they work in their districts, and they present at all the different conferences, and they're just so unbelievably amazing and inspiring. And I highly recommend that you get to know any of them, all of them. They are the heart and soul of our educator community. Speaking of our educator community, this is one of the final things that I wanted to show all of you. So if you head to adobe.ly/ACE sign up, you will have the opportunity to actually become one of our we call them ACE leaders. It's ACE just stands for Adobe Creative Educator. And by being here with us today, you are one. You are an Adobe Creative Educator. We are excited that you're here and want to be a part of this with us. You can learn.
Share that link in the chat as well.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, I can. Let's see. Adobe.ly/ACE sign up. Okay, there you go. And so by being here with us today, we would love for you to be a part of our program. Right now, our ACE leaders are just for K-12 educators who are in the US or in Europe. But we are excited to be looking at doing a more global launch. So if you're from all over the place, we still want to get to know you, and I'm going to let you know how to get involved in just a couple of moments. But if you are from the US or Europe, we would love for you to click on either of these forms. This right here will show you how to get Adobe Express set up for your district. It'll be all ready for you. And you can click right here for our US sign up if that's what you're going to do. And it will just have a short survey, and then we'll get in touch with you and start giving you all the resources you could ever ask for without spamming you. It's just me and my colleague, Martha, who love to share all the great things about Adobe Express and all the other Adobe tools and all the ways that you can get involved with our community. The final thing I was going to show you today, it's just edu.adobe.com. And yes, Fatma, I will remember to put it in the chat this time. I'm on it. I'm responsible. And I'm also going to switch my screen one more time. I lied. I thought I was done switching screens, but I have one more for us today. And okay. So this is our Adobe Educator Community homepage. It's just edu.adobe.com. This button is the same one where I just sent you. This is how you join our community. We've got all kinds of classroom resources. We've got opportunities to connect with our community. We've got some quotes from our amazing innovators who we love and adore. You can sign up for our newsletter. Again, those are those educator collections I just showed you, ways that people are currently using it. And then here at the top is our community forum. Now, my global friends, I promised you ways that you can get involved. If you head to our community forum, this looks good. I don't know why that made me do that. It's very silly. Right here, this is where you're going to see lots of really cool updates and different things from our community. Folks are posting things all the time. Get involved. You can ask questions if anything's not working or you're curious about things. We currently have a book club going on. We're studying a book that one of our ACE innovators, Tim Needles, wrote, where we're talking about the power of STEAM learning in the classroom and beyond. So you can get in there. It's not too late to join. They're already reading, but if you're a power reader, we'd love to have you still come and be a part of it. People are sharing their blogs. They're sharing all kinds of different ways that they're using creativity and generative AI in their classroom. So highly recommend that you come and just join the conversation. Or if you want to, just creep and read people's posts, we welcome post creepers as well. You are welcome to join in whatever way makes the most sense to you. So with all of that, my friends, thank you so much for our fast and furious learning opportunity today. Padma, thank you for inviting Adobe to be a part of this. We feel so honored to be a part of the work that you all are doing at Future World Alliance.
Thank you, Shel, so much. This is such an inspiring and practical session. Trust me, this is like you can create your own science project or your history project or anything. It's like what they say, you're only limited by your imagination. And I think this session proves it. You can experiment, go ahead and then try all the different tools and the resources that we have shared here. And if you have any questions or you want to get in touch with Shell, you can directly get in touch with her, and then make sure you make use of all the resources that we have shared.
Yes.
Partnering with Future World
Everyone,
Alliance.
please do reach out if you have any questions. Super, super happy to connect, chat. If you're like, I want to know how to do this thing, just let me know. My social media handles right here. If you have any questions, I'm also on LinkedIn and all the places and all the spaces I'm easy to find.
Yes.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Padma.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining this Sunday morning, afternoon, and evening and spending your time with us. This was really educational and even practical use of how you can use all these resources available. Thank you so much for joining, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.